A blissful smile appeared on Talia's face as the buttery waffle with a hint of vanilla melted in her mouth, together with the sweetness of the plum jam. Caden told me this girl deferred, but only now I realized how much. Stephanie's voice reached Damon through the mind link. Damon guessed that Stephanie alluded to the way he helped Talia with food. Nothing seems wrong with me helping the girl out. Damon took a sip of coffee nonchalantly. I never said it was wrong, Stephanie immediately responded. It wasn't wrong, but Damon never took a personal interest in any new members. Stephanie knew that Damon waited for Talia at the PAC hospital, gave her his old room on the 3rd floor, and now served her food. This seemed unheard of. Stephanie didn't consider the possibility that Damon harbored romantic feelings toward Talia. She thought of Damon as a child, and compared to him, Talia looked innocent and in need of protection, not romancing. On top of that, Talia appeared shy, timid, and less flashy than many of the women who pursued Damon. Definitely not a seductress. Her presence felt small and forgettable, even though her face bore pretty features. Talia looked bruised, and overall, Stephanie thought Talia seemed pitiful, which reinforced Stephanie's belief that Talia invoked the protective side in Damon. Damon might act crass and rough around the edges, but he suffered when his parents died, and since then, Damon never refused a person in need. And that described Talia exactly. Stephanie's daughter, Lisa, stood about that age, and Stephanie's heart ached at the thought that someone would be heartless enough to mistreat a girl like that. Talia's big, honeyed eyes looked clear and bright, even though she visibly felt apprehensive in the new environment. Stephanie didn't know how long Damon would allow Talia to stay in the PAC house. He didn't tell her anything other than to prepare a room, but she thought of helping Talia relax. Talia, is there something you enjoy doing? Talia blinked. Something she enjoyed? No one ever asked her such a question. Seeing that Talia didn't know how to answer, Stephanie asked her next question. Do you like cooking? Talia understood the question as Stephanie's attempt to give her a job. Kitchen duties sounded much better than washing bathrooms and emptying trash. She could learn from experienced cooks and hone her skills, and learn from the cookbooks also. Who knew? Maybe one day she would become a famous chef. As a great chef, she could cook many delicacies she missed while hiding in the attic. That sounded like an amazing plan. All girls in the Red Moon PAC got to help in the kitchen until the age of 16, when they received assignments based on their position. But Talia didn't get a chance to cook since she moved into the attic more than a decade ago, so her cooking skills remained limited. But she didn't let that stop her from grabbing the opportunity. I can help in the kitchen. Talia's eyes sparkled, reflecting her dreams of the scrumptious feast she would make for herself. Someday. Stephanie smiled. I would love that. How about you help me prepare dinner today? Damon spoke up sternly. Talia's hands are injured. I thought she could help a bit and we could chat and get to know each other. As Stephanie saw it, if Talia could hold a fork, she could pass an onion. She didn't expect Talia to engage in hard labor. Damon didn't like it. With that thing around her wrist, Talia can't help with washing, chopping, or mixing. I want her to rest and focus on getting better. Talia will not have any tasks until she completely heals. Of course. Stephanie looked at Talia with a kind smile. After your hands heal. Talia nodded in agreement. She didn't think much about cooking before Stephanie brought it up, but it seemed like a skill everyone should have. This looked like a great opportunity to learn. Damon could see Talia's wheels turning as she came up with some ideas, so he had to ensure she heard him. "You are not allowed to work until Travis and I say you can. Until then, I want you to take it easy and rest." Talia wondered how far that "take it easy and rest" would stretch. "Can I go to the forest?" Damon frowned while thinking about how to answer this. He didn't like the idea of Talia wandering who knows where. He needed her in the visible range, or closer. You can go to the garden. If you want to go beyond that, let me know. I don't want you to get lost." Talia exhaled helplessly. Why did Damon think she got lost easily? She didn't want to appear needy or ungrateful, but this sounded like limiting her freedom. She took a mental note to bring this up again later when the scary alpha seemed in a better mood. With Talia's stomach getting full, fatigue took over. After a night awake in the car and a morning in the Packhouse hospital, she felt ready to sleep. Talia yawned. "You must feel tired," Stephanie stated the obvious. "When you finish with food, I'll show you your room." Talia felt full, but a few more delicious bites of strawberry and whipped cream remained, which she saved for the end. So she decided to finish those, even if it meant she might get a tummy ache later.
Careful with that!
A shrill scream drifted from the hallway.
If you damage it, even if you sell a kidney, it won't be enough to fix it. How can you be so useless? Take it to my room.
Talia glanced around at the faces around the table. Damon busied himself with his food, Caden and Maya frowned, and Stephanie shook her head for a second before she locked eyes with Talia. "You're done, right?" Stephanie said with urgency while standing up. "Let me show you to your room." Before Talia could respond, Stephanie helped her up and practically pushed her toward the side door. "Let's go through the kitchen so you can see where it is," Stephanie said while beckoning Talia with her eyes to hurry. Talia glanced back to see the last 2 strawberries on her plate that she didn't get a chance to eat, and she saw Damon looking her way with a small frown on his handsome face. Then his head whipped to the door which connected to the hallway.
Damon, baby!
A curvaceous brunette appeared in the room with a big smile.
You need to teach those Omegas how to treat their Luna.
Luna? Talia felt flabbergasted. How many Lunas can one Alpha have? Didn't he come to the Red Moon Pack to marry Marcy? Talia felt distracted because Stephanie led the way through the kitchen and then into a hallway before they started walking upstairs. "I thought you would show me to my room." Talia turned to Stephanie with confusion in her voice. "Yes, we're going there." Talia pressed her lips into a line, and her heart started racing uncontrollably. They just passed the 2nd floor. Why did they still go up? Would she end up in an attic again? "Here we are," Stephanie said in a sing-song voice while opening the door of the room on the 3rd floor. Talia glanced inside, not daring to take a step over the threshold. A big 4-poster bed, a work desk, a sitting area with a low coffee table, a sofa, and 2 sofa chairs filled the room before her. There was a reading nook with big pillows under the window on the left, a full bookshelf next to it, and 2 doors on the right wall stood open so Talia could see a bathroom and a closet. She blinked a few times and then looked at Stephanie. Are you sure we're in the right place? Stephanie smiled. Yes. Based on your reaction, I can guess Alpha Damon didn't tell you that you would stay in his old room. His old room? Talia repeated robotically. Don't you have any other room to give me? Stephanie shrugged. Don't look at me, girl. I'm just following orders. Come inside and see how you like it. You traveled the whole night and then went to the hospital. I guess you want to shower and rest, right? Talia nodded at Stephanie's words while observing the room. Her gaze stopped at the intricate woodwork on the mantel that surrounded a massive fireplace. They didn't bring any suitcase for you. Do you have any clothes? Talia shook her head. I wrapped clothes in a bedsheet. They sat in the trunk. Give me a second. Stephanie lifted her finger, indicating to Talia to wait, and she mind-linked Maya. Did you bring Talia's things inside?
What things? Other than one book and a few trinkets, Talia only owns a few worn-out items that don't fit her. I'll take her shopping as soon as I finish a few tasks here.
Stephanie pressed her lips into a line and her eyes stung from unshed tears. She couldn't imagine how bad Talia's living conditions were before coming here. She got an idea. Don't worry about shopping for now. I have a few things from Lisa that are in good shape. I'm sure they'll fit her.
Oh, great! Since it's not urgent, I'll still take Talia shopping, but not today. Go into my closet, the second drawer on the left. There are a few boxes of unpacked underwear that Kaden got for me when we started dating. I think they're still in the gift bag as I kept them for memories, but it's not important. They're small for me, so I never wore them, but they should be good for Talia.
Stephanie felt happy with this solution. Maya mentioned that she'll take you shopping, but not today because everyone's busy after being a few days away. Let me get you something. Stephanie quickly left the room, leaving Talia behind. Talia moved to the middle window and saw the circular driveway and the road that disappeared among the trees. She remembered the plants she saw in the forest while walking here, and she felt eager to return to the forest and harvest some. She never had a stockpile, and she knew that she needed to take the mixture to diminish her scent soon, because the effects of the previous dose would wear off within 2 days. Through trial and error, Talia confirmed that as long as she took them once a week, no one could pick up her scent unless she stood close. It wasn't that Talia planned to hide or sneak around, but the fact that no one could track her provided a layer of protection she craved. Talia took a moment to absorb the fact that someone gave her this luxurious room, and even though she didn't know for how long, she felt grateful, even if it lasted just 1 day. Talia remembered that when Damon spoke to her in the attic, he told her that if she came with him, she would have a room better than the ones downstairs at the Red Moon Pack, plenty of food, a doctor to tend to her wounds, and no one would bully her. She just arrived and she had already seen a doctor, filled her stomach, and got a fancy room. And so far, no one bullied her, and people seemed nice. She decided to accept it. Talia smiled a little. It seemed that scary Alpha Damon kept his word. After a brief knock, the door opened, and Stephanie entered the room with a big suitcase that bulged with its contents. Stephanie opened it and began unpacking some things. These belonged to my daughter Lisa before she left the pack. I had no idea why I still held on to them, but now I think they'll come in handy. If you can find a few things, then there'll be no rush to buy new clothes. Take whatever you need. She gave Talia a small gift bag. Here's underwear. I hope it'll fit. Thank you. Talia accepted the underwear without looking at it and started going through clothes. There were many colorful items with pictures of kittens, rainbows, and unicorns. Did your daughter leave when she found her mate? Talia guessed. No. Lisa turned 12 years old when she left. Stephanie felt awkward that she gave Talia clothes that belonged to a preteen, so she explained. Lisa grew up as a chubby child, and considering that you're on the skinny side, something should fit you. Why did she leave? Talia continued probing. At that time, the Dark Howlers pack faced instability. I sent Lisa to stay with my sister temporarily while I helped Damon and Caden here. After some time, Lisa made friends and asked me if she could stay longer. That longer turned into years, and already 7 years have passed. While listening to Stephanie's story, Talia found several leggings and t-shirts that seemed acceptable. There were even cute jeans shorts and one oversized tank top that could easily pass for a nightgown. Talia and Stephanie repacked the suitcase together. Lisa's about your age. She'll visit soon for the fair. I'm sure you'll get along well. Talia didn't comment on that. Other than Olivia, she didn't have friends, so Talia didn't feel comfortable committing that things would work out between her and another person. Talia spoke up reluctantly. Can I ask you something? Sure. Can you bring my stuff to me? I know it's not much, but it's all I have. Stephanie nodded in agreement. Go wash up and rest. Do you want me to wake you up for lunch? Talia felt confident that she would sleep through the day. No, thank you. Is it okay if I go to the kitchen and grab something when I get hungry? You're free to go anywhere. If the door is closed, you can assume that it's either a bedroom or someone's inside. You're free to knock and check. If it's anything important, it'll be locked. Alpha Damon said that you can go to the garden, and if you plan to leave the pack house beyond that, notify someone so that we don't worry. Stephanie paused and her expression turned sour. If you bump into Cassie, just ignore her. Cassie? The noisemaker who arrived when we left the dining room. Talia remembered the brunette. You mean your Luna? Stephanie frowned. Goddess, I hope that doesn't happen. You don't seem to like her. No one likes Cassie. Talia felt confused. That brunette made a noisy entrance and called herself Damon's Luna. How could she do that if no one liked her? Does Alpha Damon tolerate people he doesn't like? Alpha Damon's complicated. Many women swarm around him and want to be his Luna, yet he can't pick one. What about Marcy? From the Red Moon Pack? You know her. Talia nodded. Well, she knew who beat her up twice. Are you from the Red Moon Pack? Stephanie continued asking. Talia nodded again. Stephanie let out a long breath and shook her head. I heard that Marcy's not the one either. I really don't know what that child's thinking. Damon has so many candidates to be his bride, and he's not accepting them or pushing them away. Talia understood that Damon's love life seemed complicated. Considering how Marcy reacted because of Damon, Talia took a mental note to stay away from Cassie. Or even better, she should stay away from Damon. After a brief chat, Stephanie remembered.
Oh, these arrived for you from the Pack Hospital.
Stephanie gestured toward the medicines on the bedside table.
Capsules are for the swelling and pain management. Take one in the morning and one in the evening for a week. The little white ones are additional painkillers which you should take if the capsules aren't enough, but no more than 4 a day. And cream is for the bruises. You can call me or Maya to help apply it on areas you can't reach.
Talia listened carefully and she felt touched because this marked the first time that a doctor gave her medications and such instructions. It turned out to be a day of many firsts. Stephanie left so that Talia could get ready and rest. Talia took her time in the bathroom. Before washing herself, Talia quickly rinsed in the sink the bra and panties she wore previously and hung them at the top of the shower door to dry. The shower felt hot and relaxing, and the towels were fluffy. Talia peeked into the bag that held her new underwear, and her eyes nearly bulged at the sight of a dark red lacy bra and a matching thong. There were 3 sets. 1 hot red, 1 dark red, and 1 black. The panties were thongs, while bras differed slightly. The dark red one looked lacy, the hot red bra appeared mesh-like, and the black one had strings weaved like spider webs. At the bottom of the bag, Talia found 2 small tassels that had attachments, and she guessed that they went on bras. She felt grateful for the new underwear, but she never wore something so racy, and the idea of a thong getting between her butt cheeks didn't seem comfortable, not even a little bit. She planned to sleep anyway, and she decided to go commando. By the time she woke up, the underwear she wore previously would dry, and she could wear them again. Talia put on an oversized tank top that reached half of her thighs. It felt a bit breezy down there without panties, and loose around arms, so if she moved about, her breasts might peek from the side, but she planned to go to bed, so it seemed fine. When she got out of the bathroom, Talia spotted her things on the bed wrapped in a worn-out bedsheet, and she smiled a little. She took the Cinderella book and placed it on the bedside table, next to the medicines. Talia didn't care much about the clothes, but that book felt precious. Seeing the big bed waiting for her, Talia couldn't resist the temptation, and she jumped on it. She enjoyed the bouncy mattress, giggling like a child for a few minutes before going under the cover. The mattress felt just right, and the pillow felt like a cloud, and the cover felt warm and fuzzy, and Talia fell asleep the moment her eyes closed. In the dining room 10 minutes ago, Damon felt caught by surprise when Talia left with Stephanie. He wanted to go after Talia, and his wolf agreed, but then Cassie appeared at the door and Damon paused. If he went after Talia, Cassie would notice and target her.
You should have gotten rid of Cassie a long time ago.
Damon's wolf growled in his head.
Send her packing and go after our mate.
Damon pinched the roof of his nose.
Cassie is just a fly, but a fly with a hurt ego and a big mouth can cause damage. Even if she doesn't know that Talia is my mate, just the fact that I'm treating Talia differently will put a target on her back. So, what's the plan, wise guy?
His wolf asked sarcastically.
You'll pretend that mate isn't here until this annoying she-wolf leaves?
I can't act differently. Talia's safety comes first. His wolf snorted in disapproval.
How about you go and shag every she-wolf in a 10-mile radius? In that way, no one will suspect you have a mate.
Damon gritted his teeth in annoyance. If you don't have anything useful to suggest, then go back to sleep. By this time, Cassie stood next to Damon, grinning at him. Why are you here? Damon asked Cassie grimly and pointed at the door through which she came in. Who gave you the right to reprimand my pack members? And who allowed you to stay in a room?
Damon, baby.
Cassie leaned in to hug him, and Damon stood up, dodging her by a hair. It's Alpha, Damon! Damon snapped and released his alpha aura, making her lower her head in submission. Did she ignore his questions, thinking that getting chummy would fix things? Since when did he easily fall for pleasures of the flesh? Damon's rage directed at Cassie, but Caden and Maya also lowered their heads. No one could deny that Damon could suppress them easily without lifting a finger. This did not align with the usual scenario. Normally, Damon would let Cassie greet him with a hug and a kiss. Yes, he would always reject Cassie as his Luna, and he told her that she couldn't call herself his girlfriend or anything related to him, but Cassie suited a temporary release. From Damon's point of view, it seemed perfectly fine. However, this time, just the thought of Cassie's touch made his stomach tie into knots, and he couldn't make himself go through it. Miss Cassie, Damon spoke stiffly. Even your father can't come here without an appointment. Don't mistake my politeness for weakness.
You can't treat me this way.
Cassie spoke through her teeth.
You owe me.
That's why I didn't snap your neck so far. But if you think you're worth more, give me a number and we'll negotiate, Damon responded, and Cassie's face contorted with anger as he spoke. We should write up a contract so I know that the final payment will prevent you from bringing up that point again. Maybe your first time seemed important to you, but for me, you represent one of many. Cassie had never felt so insulted, and he hadn't finished talking. I'll let my betas explain to you about rules we follow here, and if I see you again without an appointment, don't blame me for being impolite. Damon walked out of the room, and only when he fell out of sight, the three people resumed breathing. Caden and Maya exchanged glances. That seemed intense. Yes, Cassie was irritated, always had and always would. However, Damon didn't pay attention to her so far. If he felt busy, he would ignore her, and if he felt willing, he would play with her. But he never snapped like this. Cassie stood in shock. Maya glanced at Cassie, who stood in place like her feet grew roots. Her hands balled into fists, and she shook profusely, either because of fear or anger. Probably both.
Why does he let us deal with his trash?
Maya asked Caden grumpily through their mind link.
You saw him. If he deals with her, we'll have a task to come up with an explanation of how Cassie died on our territory. He must feel grumpy because Talia left.
Maya spoke, and Caden nodded in agreement.
And that confirms that Damon intends on keeping Talia a secret.
Caden responded in a singing voice. Cassie lifted her head and glared at Maya and Caden.
Damon can't treat me like this. It's Alpha, Damon, Miss Cassie.
Maya spoke in her official tone. Cassie sneered.
When I become Luna of the Dark Howlers Pack, you'll need to answer to me.
Maya shook her head.
I suggest you get your act together, Miss Cassie, because this represents just a warning. No one disrespects our alpha and gets unpunished.
Cassie didn't get it.
Disrespect?
Caden responded instead of Maya.
Miss Cassie, if you didn't understand so far, Alpha Damon has no intention of making you his Luna. He tolerated your presence because of your father. For the same reason, he didn't summon our warriors to escort you to the border of our territory, but he gave you a choice to leave on your own. Don't test him.
Damon went to his study and powered on the computer. He shoved his hand in his hair angrily. Why did he snap like that? He should have let Cassie do her usual routine, and she would leave in a few days without suspecting anything, but he ruined it. Actually, he forgot that Cassie planned to come. Damon focused so much on Talia that he neglected everything else. Now that he thought about it, if Cassie figured out that Talia stayed here, it wouldn't take her long to assume how Talia seemed important to Damon, and that would suffice to start rumors. Rumors spread faster than a wildfire, and it would only take a matter of time before someone came for Talia. What if he couldn't protect Talia? What if he ended up in a situation where he needed to pick between Talia and his pack? Damn it! He took a deep breath and looked at the screen, which flashed with notifications. Just as he expected, his inbox flooded with unread emails. Damon didn't feel like working. What he really wanted involved going to the 3rd floor and spending time with Talia, or at least confirming how she fared. Damon mind-linked Stephanie.
What is Talia doing? She is picking clothes from the stash that Lisa left behind.
Damon frowned.
Why did you give her second-hand items? Because she has nothing else to wear, Alpha. Maya will take her shopping, but until then, these will do. Nothing seems wrong with these clothes. Lisa barely wore them, and some still have tags on.
Damon grumbled internally. He wanted to dress Talia in high-end designer clothes and not some no-name labels from the mall that someone else left behind. Why would she wear shabby clothes if he had plenty of money? Damon's money existed for Talia to spend. Damon decided to take Talia shopping, and he would personally pick clothes for her. Damon regretted that he didn't get to show Talia her room personally, so he had to ask.
Did Talia like the room? Talia seems like a quiet girl. She didn't say anything, but I think she likes it.
Stephanie responded. Damon remembered that when it involved just the two of them, in the forest, Talia talked and smiled, and she didn't make a big deal about them holding hands until Stephanie showed up. It told him that Talia felt comfortable with him. Only him. It made him smile a little. Damon concluded there existed a good chance that in the right environment, Talia would come out of her shell.
How long will Cassie stay?
Stephanie's question, which came through their mind link, pulled Damon out of his thoughts.
I don't know. Probably as usual.
Damon responded honestly. He wanted to chase Cassie away, but he already snapped at her, which represented something he never did before. And if he did anything more drastic than that, Cassie would definitely feel suspicious.
Can you tell Talia not to pay attention to Cassie?
Damon asked Stephanie.
I will. Did Talia say what she plans to do later? Rest.
Damon wanted to ask more, but it would risk exposing himself more than he already did, so he decided to stop. Talia would rest, and he had a lot of emails to go through. He would check on her later. Cassie entered her room, aka the guest bedroom on the second floor where she usually stays when she visits the Dark Howlers pack, and she paced while biting her nails. She understood loud and clear that Damon wanted her out of here, but how can she leave? She just got here. Damon was never ecstatic to see her, but she always played her role of an airhead perfectly. She would ignore his grumpiness and accept any affection, and he never told her to leave. What changed? Cassie got her phone and called her father.
Hi, Pumpkin.
Her father said in a singing voice that doesn't sound like it should belong to a vicious Alpha Richard of the Steelbite pack.
Hi, Daddy.
Cassie spoke in a whiny voice which told him that something is not right.
What happened?
Damon told me to scram.
He snorted.
What did you do?
Nothing. Really. Absolutely nothing. I arrived and I wanted to greet him, but he acted like I have a plague or something. He used his alpha pressure to make me submit and told me not to appear unless I have an appointment. I'm not sure what to do now. I don't want to leave. He just returned after spending 2 days with Marcy, and I need to find out how far they went. But if I insist, I might irritate him more.
Relax, dear.
Alpha Richard said.
How can I relax?
Nothing happened with Marcy. I spoke with Alpha Edward and he said that things are looking good, but he didn't say that they sealed the deal either. It doesn't matter how far he went with Marcy or with any other woman, as long as he didn't agree to the Luna ceremony.
But if he didn't fall for Marcy, why did he avoid me?
Alpha Richard thought for some time before responding.
It sounds to me like he is under stress.
Cassie snorted.
If he is under stress due to some random thing, he doesn't need to vent on me.
Don't you want to be his Luna?
Yes, yes.
Cassie confirmed enthusiastically.
Then you should learn to read his mood. Alpha's job is not easy. Other than managing his pack, Damon needs to handle relationships with other packs also. It's a job that never ends. When things are good, it's easy. But when he hits a rough patch, as his Luna, you need to observe and listen. And help him if you can. And if you can't, then don't bother him.
Cassie pouted while thinking about her father's words.
But how can I observe and listen if he doesn't let me come close?
He was probably irritable and you came suddenly. I know you are a ball of energy, but you need to do it gradually so that he doesn't notice you coming. It's all about the right approach.
Cassie smiled.
Thank you, Daddy. You always know what to say.
Of course, Pumpkin. Give him some time to cool off and try again, but be more subtle. If all fails, be vulnerable. Real men love helping a lady in distress. And don't forget to pretend that you are clueless. If he suspects that you are putting on an act, he will really kick you out.
Got it, Daddy.
Cassie sent a smacking air kiss to the phone before ending the call.
Mwah!
She plopped on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Right. She needs to give time to Damon to cool off, and then she will try approaching him again. Later. But what should she do until later? In the study room, Damon was still going through his emails when Caden entered after a brief knock.
I've got you these to check and sign.
Caden said while putting a stack of papers on Damon's desk. Damon frowned at Caden's gifts. Did Cassie leave?
Not that I know of, and I have no intention of going to her room to check.
Damon's frown deepened. That's not her room. Caden chuckled.
You know that she always stays in that room, and no one else uses it, so it's Cassie's.
Damon rubbed his forehead and Caden observed him curiously.
What's got into you?
She is annoying. Caden agreed.
Cassie was always annoying, but what I don't know is what changed with you suddenly telling her that she can't come without an appointment. You used your alpha on her.
Damon paused. How was he supposed to answer this?
Cassie is acting like she owns the place, bossing Omegas around and upsetting Steph.
Caden nodded in slow motion.
Cassie always did that, but you never cared. When I asked you why we are allowing Cassie to stay.
Damon exhaled irritably.
Maybe I'm tired of her shit.
He really didn't want to explain. Damon knew that Caden was suspicious, and he knew that Talia being his mate can't be hidden at this rate, but he didn't have a solution. Before anyone finds out that Talia is his mate, Damon needed to prepare himself and Talia for those who will come after Talia in order to get to him. She will be put on the spot, scrutinized, hunted. Some will come openly, and some will act from the shadows. Damon didn't want to see that. He wanted to see Talia energetic and happy, just how she was in the forest earlier that day. The other option was for Damon to get his act together and to convince everyone that Talia is just a girl who doesn't mean anything. But how can he do that when every woman he met so far is just a vague outline, while he can remember every speck of golden in Talia's honeyed eyes? Damon would need to be indifferent toward Talia and allow women like Cassie to get close to him. He didn't care for Cassie, her or any other. It didn't make much difference for Damon. But now, just the thought of contact with any other woman was repulsive. Damon stood up abruptly.
Where are you going?
Caden asked.
I need a break. I'm going to shower.
Damon responded without halting his steps. When he approached his room, Damon paused, and he fought a mighty internal battle while deciding which door to take. On his right was his bedroom, the master's suite on the 3rd floor. On his left was his old bedroom, and a faint scent of freesia told him that Talia was inside. Damon cursed under his breath and took the right. He needed a shower, a cold one. Shower didn't help to calm down Damon's raging emotions, and after dressing up, he went straight across the hall to find a cure for this newfound madness. Damon placed his ear on the door and listened intently. Nothing. He knocked gently a few times and waited. Nothing. Damon told himself to leave, just keep on moving. But the only thing that moved was his right hand, which held on to the doorknob, and he peeked into the room through the gap. Talia? He called. Nothing. Talia blinked herself awake and first noticed the darkness. It had definitely passed dinner time, but Talia didn't mind. She buried her head deeper into the pillow, indulging in the softness and warmth that came with the scent of the forest and dark chocolate. Talia paused and took a few sniffs to confirm that her nose didn't play tricks on her. Talia looked around to ascertain that she stayed on her own. She felt confused. The room didn't smell like Damon before she fell asleep, but now it did. She liked his scent. It mixed her two favorite things, forest and a sweet treat. Talia wondered if Damon had come to check on her while she slept. Talia shook that thought away. Why would an alpha come to check on her? It seemed more probable that Stephanie or Maya brought something that had Damon's scent on it, but she couldn't see anything different. Talia decided to stop thinking about it. It didn't matter. She listened carefully and picked up no sounds. Considering the darkness and lateness, Talia thought of one pressing matter, which included her going to the forest. Unfortunately, other than shiny flip-flops that Maya gave her earlier and running shoes with cracked soles, Talia didn't have any other footwear, so she opted for flip-flops. The pack house stayed quiet, only dim lights along the hallways. When Talia reached the main floor, she remembered that Stephanie told her how she could go anywhere, kitchen included, so Talia decided to find a snack before heading out. Damon spent most of his afternoon coming up with various scenarios related to handling his relationship with Talia. He didn't know if he could pretend that Talia lacked importance. Her scent addicted him, and the sparks amplified it, and considering Damon's uncaring nature, it would only take a matter of time before people noticed that he acted differently around Talia. But maybe if he kept his distance from Talia when others stayed around, it might work. No matter what happened, he felt confident in one thing. He needed to keep her safe. Maybe later, when Talia's physical condition improved and she gained confidence, he would reconsider. But for now, it seemed better to keep her importance a secret. People close to him would probably notice, but those included only a few that Damon trusted anyway. So when they asked him about it, he would explain, but not sooner than necessary. Dinner became a lonely event without Talia, but Damon wanted to let her rest, remembering her sleeping face and the way she held on to his hand. Damon barely noticed Cassie's presence. She stayed quiet and didn't try to get close, so it seemed easy to ignore her. After dinner, Damon met with Maya and Caden in his office. They normally did this status meeting once a week, but since they stayed away for a few days, they decided to have one before calling it a day. They discussed ongoing issues and made decisions when needed. They finalized their story about Talia's presence in the pack, and of course, there were a few random topics at the end.
How is Talia doing?
Maya asked Damon.
She is resting,
Damon responded. He felt unsure if Talia still slept, but she did when he left her room, and he assumed that she would come down after she woke up.
What will we do about Cassie?
Caden brought up the topic.
You told her to leave, but she still stays here. Based on disobedience, we can escort her out of our pack's territory.
Damon puffed his cheeks while thinking about the best solution.
Let's ignore her. In a day or two, she will get bored and leave. I believe that she understood I won't put up with her antics, and that's why she stayed quiet over dinner.
Caden and Maya both frowned at this.
I think that Cassie stayed quiet because she was plotting something,
Maya said. Damon didn't disagree with this, but
I would love to kick Cassie out. Unfortunately, I can't do it without her committing a serious offense because I need to think about the pack. Based on Cassie's behavior so far, she only chases after me, and saying that she annoys me doesn't give a good reason to risk straining the relationship with the Steelbite Pack. After Cassie leaves, we will send a memo to the Steelbite Pack and any other in the area that outsiders can't come and go as they please. Let's come up with a story that due to increased attacks, we raised our vigilance, and non-members can't come without previous approval. That will allow us to stop Cassie at the border next time.
Damon spread his arms toward Caden and Maya.
If you have a better idea, I'm all ears.
There existed no better ideas. All knew that Damon spoke correctly. They led a pack, and they had to put their personal feelings aside, even if facts backed them up. Unless firm evidence existed against Cassie, they couldn't just kick her out. But this showed progress. Damon never considered preventing Cassie from coming to the Dark Howlers Pack, and the fact that she could come and go freely emboldened her. Maya would love to witness when Cassie found out that she couldn't come again because she didn't have approval from Damon, Caden, or Maya. And Cassie would never get approval, unless it involved official business and Alpha Richard, aka Cassie's father, sent her as PAC's delegation. Of course, they all knew that Cassie didn't come here without someone supporting her, and that probably meant her father. A girl with self-respect wouldn't allow repeatedly to be used by Damon when he felt like it. She definitely had an agenda. After the meeting, Caden and Maya left for their room and Damon went to get himself a drink. A glass of water or maybe orange juice, the same one Talia drank that morning. Damon planned that after having a drink, he would go and check if Talia had awakened.
Alpha Damon,
Cassie called when he passed by the living room, and his steps halted.
Can I help you, Miss Cassie?
Cassie waited for Damon the whole afternoon, and she even looked in the common areas, but he stayed nowhere to be found. Over dinner, Damon acted like Cassie didn't attend, but he didn't chase her away either. So Cassie felt confident that whatever made him upset earlier that morning passed. This gave her a chance to get closer to him. She bit her lower lip and gave him a coy look.
Alpha Damon, I apologize for my behavior this morning. I didn't act sensibly about what's going on, and I acted recklessly.
Damon cocked an eyebrow.
And what do you think goes on?
You felt stressed, and instead of being mindful of your needs, I acted on mine. I didn't mean to disrespect you. I only felt excited to see you again.
Damon didn't buy it. But he felt curious what she plotted, and if he just called her a liar, she would never admit it.
Apology accepted.
Damon spoke and made a step to the side.
Where are you going?
To get a drink?
He responded.
Can I join you? Why do you consider it?
Damon's wolf grumbled.
This gives a good chance to be with another woman.
Damon spoke, and when his wolf started growling, he quickly added,
It protects our mate. This will test to see how far I can go without exposing myself and mate. It seems better to check these things without an audience, and no one stays around now.
His wolf didn't respond, but Damon sensed the resistance fading. Cassie's expression lit up when Damon told her that she could accompany him, and she quickly latched herself onto his arm. Damon gritted his teeth and forced himself not to push Cassie away. He represented a mighty warrior, and he could endure this. He focused so much on examining his emotions and containing his impulse to shake Cassie off that he didn't notice another presence in the kitchen. Cassie turned on the lights and Talia froze with an apple in one hand and a broken chunk of bread in another. Looking at Talia's clothes and bruised unknown appearance, Cassie assumed that she looked at an Omega. After all, if Talia had any standing, Cassie would remember her. Cassie frowned at Talia.
Are you stealing food?
Talia's eyes widened and her heart thundered in her chest at the unpleasant memories that resurfaced due to Cassie's expression and way of speaking. On instinct, Talia swiftly placed the bread and the apple on the kitchen counter like they burned her hands. Talia saw Damon glaring at her like she shouldn't be here, and her heart cracked a little. Talia lowered her head and closed her eyes while trying to suppress the swelling of negative emotions. Why did she think that this place would differ? Seeing that Talia didn't respond and that Damon didn't react, Cassie felt emboldened.
Answer me.
Cassie hissed at Talia and spoke to Damon without removing her gaze from Talia.
Is this how your Omegas act? You really need a Luna to teach them some manners. Sneaking in the dark and stealing food, and then they even refuse to respond. That's enough, Cassie.
Maya spoke sternly from the door. Maya's heart cracked when she saw Talia's submissive stance. Cassie didn't have any aura, but Talia seemed a broken soul who needed a supportive environment. Maya walked to Talia and asked softly, "Are you okay?" Talia nodded faintly, but Maya knew that Talia lied. Maya narrowed her eyes at Damon and spoke through the mind link.
Is this why you brought her here? I thought you promised her protection and not another type of Pell. Come, let's get out of here.
Maya spoke to Talia while wrapping her arm around Talia's shoulders.
We didn't finish here.
Cassie spoke stiffly, hoping that Damon would back her up.
What do you want, Cassie?
Maya snapped.
Do I need to remind you that you represent a guest? You have no right to boss around or bully members of our pack. If they did something you don't approve of,
You can report it.
Do not act like a judge and executioner. If you have any problems with this, you can challenge me to a match. In case you win, I will gladly give you my position as the beta of the Dark Howlers pack. And if you don't have the guts to face me, then stay out of my way.
Damon watched as Maya led Talia out, and rage bubbled inside him that was immediately extinguished by the feeling of guilt because he felt angry at himself. This represented his fault. Damon felt surprised to see Talia in the kitchen, and he told himself to stay out of it because he shouldn't expose that Talia held importance. After all, Cassie could flap her mouth, but Damon would never let her really harm Talia. Talia's defeated expression created an agonizing hole in his chest. He could see her disappointment and the moment when that little trust she had in him vanished. The pain felt unbearable.
Talia is upset because of me.
Damon spoke to his wolf.
You stood and did nothing while that she-wolf disparaged our mate, and you broke the promise of giving her food because our mate left without eating anything. Again. And let's not forget that the same nasty she-wolf attached herself to your left.
His wolf spoke with disapproval before retracting to the back of Damon's mind.
Maya, can you make sure that Talia gets something to eat?
Damon asked through the mind link.
Oh, so now you care about Talia?
Maya snapped at him.
If you cared a minute ago, Talia would pick her food and not be chased out like a thief.
Don't talk to me like that.
Damon growled.
Oh, I apologize, Alpha Damon. Where are my manners?
Maya responded sarcastically.
I suggest that you stay away from Talia. Stick to Cassie. That's what you excel at. And leave this poor woman alone. She suffered enough. As your beta, I will take the responsibility of arranging different accommodations for Talia.
No!
Damon shouted into the mind link, but his message hit a wall, which told him that Maya shut him out.
Don't pay attention to Cassie.
Maya told Talia when they exited into the garden.
Cassie talks big, but she represents no one. She wouldn't dare to harm you.
Talia didn't respond. If Cassie represented no one, why didn't Alpha Damon say something? Why didn't he clarify that Talia lived here? Why did he act like he didn't know who she represented? I didn't steal, Talia spoke after some time. The lights stayed off, and I assumed that everyone slept. I didn't need lights, so I didn't turn them on.
Our Omegas don't linger in the pack house,
Maya explained.
They come once a week to clean and do laundry. They help with food preparations when we host a party, and you might find one or two of them in the evening hours, helping Steph with dishes, and they turn off the lights when they leave, because we don't have visitors after dinner hours.
Talia thought about how that differed. In the Red Moon Pack, they had Omegas around until midnight, and the first ones would start their duties at dawn. That's why Talia assumed it seemed very late and no one stayed awake. If she knew, she would turn on the lights, and maybe that would allow her to avoid this all too familiar, uncomfortable situation.
You went to the kitchen.
Maya spoke.
Do you feel hungry?
No, Talia denied it. It didn't mean that she didn't feel hungry, but she had a good meal that morning, and that exceeded what she usually had. She got used to skipping meals, and she didn't want to go back to that kitchen and risk meeting Cassie or anyone else. Talia remembered that Stephanie spoke how Cassie wanted to become the Luna, and the way Cassie clung on to Damon's arm. It looked like she had good chances of accomplishing it. Talia decided that if Cassie became the Luna of the Dark Howlers pack, Talia would leave. A woman who immediately accused a person of sneaking and stealing couldn't represent a good Luna. Talia already saw one which seemed selfish and heartless, and she didn't want to see another one. On the other hand, maybe she should just leave without waiting to hear how the matter between Cassie and Damon would conclude, because an alpha who could watch while another person got wrongly accused and say nothing about it didn't represent a righteous alpha. Somehow, Talia thought that Alpha Damon differed.
Do you want to go inside?
Maya asked Talia. Talia wanted to go into the forest, but she feared that if she spoke that to Maya, she would prevent her from going. After all, Alpha Damon told Talia that she couldn't go beyond the garden without notifying him. But then, he spoke that no one would bully her either. Feel free to go back, Talia spoke with a small smile. I'm sure that Beta Caden waits for you. I will stay here a bit. I will be fine.
Okay, let's go shopping for clothes tomorrow afternoon.
Maya spoke and continued without giving Talia time to respond.
Talia, think about what you want. The pack house usually stays quiet and we don't have many guests, but if you stay here, you will attract attention. I don't say this to sway you one way or another, but I want you to stay aware of your surroundings. I can arrange for you to stay with the Omegas. That will help you blend in. Or if you prefer on your own, we have apartments.
Talia felt unsure what to say. She didn't want to stay in the pack house. Yes, the room seemed nice, and the bed felt warm, and the towels felt fluffy, but the Alpha only brought trouble with him. And based on tonight's episode, it seemed that whatever protection he had for her, it ran out. But she felt anxious at the thought of living with Omegas, because those represented her bullies from the past, and she never lived on her own, so that represented a completely foreign concept. Maya saw that Talia stood on the verge of panic, so she quickly spoke.
You don't need to decide now. I advise you to stay here at least until your bruises heal. But think about it, okay? Options exist for you. No one will force you to stay here or anywhere else. I will make sure of that.
Talia relaxed a bit. Thanks.
My room stays on the second floor. When you climb the stairs, take a right. It represents the last room on the left.
At the last 3 windows on the second floor. The light stayed on.
If you need anything, anytime, come and find me.
With that, Maya left Talia in the garden. Talia found herself surrounded by silence that broke by the occasional rustling of leaves under the breeze. It felt familiar, yet somehow, she felt empty, like she lost something. She lost hope. Talia exhaled softly and shook her head. It represented her fault. Since she accepted Alpha Damon's offer, she allowed herself to hope that things would get better, and this didn't seem better. It seemed the same, but wrapped in a different container. Just like many times before, Talia stood alone in the darkness, hungry, bullied, and wearing clothes that used to belong to someone else. The kind face in the red moon pack represented Olivia, and here represented Maya, and maybe Stephanie also. But just like Olivia, Maya and Stephanie would leave her at the end because they had their lives, and it didn't represent their job to take care of Talia. Talia sucked in a sharp breath. No point existed in dwelling on what happened, other than to acknowledge that people seemed the same regardless of the pack. And unless she took charge of her life, someone would always treat her like a doormat. Talia peeled her eyes from the 3 lit-up windows on the second floor and turned toward the forest that shrouded in the darkness. Stealing her resolve, Talia started walking. No matter what the future brought, she knew that she would need her herbs. Talia relaxed the moment she entered the protection the trees provided. She didn't fear the darkness or the creatures of the forest, knowing that the biggest monsters represented people themselves, werewolves included. Step by step, Talia made her way deeper into the forest, and she carefully placed collected plants in the few sheets of paper towels which she took from the bathroom and concealed under the elastic of her leggings. Bunchberry, fringe cup, moonflower, alum root, they all stayed there, offering to Talia their leaves and petals like they knew she came. In the kitchen, Damon pried his arm free from Cassie's hold and her eyes widened in surprise. Why did he back away? Why did he frown? Things went well, damn it. She composed herself and called sweetly.
Alpha Damon, do you think I went out of line?
Cassie, you accused someone of being a thief. Do you really think that my pack members need to come here and steal food?
Cassie pressed her lips into a line, feeling wronged.
But she stood in the dark, which proved that she plotted no good. How could she see anything with the lights off?
Damon took a moment to process what Cassie spoke, and he realized that Cassie had a point. Talia stood in the dark. The light in the kitchen stayed off, and so did the one in the hallway. The visibility approached nil. Werewolves have enhanced senses, proportional to the strength of their wolf. Cassie represented a weak werewolf, and the boost her wolf provided her seemed negligible when compared to other werewolves. However, Talia moved freely in the completely dark kitchen, which she didn't know. Didn't that mean that the power her wolf gave her seemed significant? An even bigger revelation indicated that Talia had a wolf because if her wolf had gone, she wouldn't have any boosts. Talia's healing seemed low, but if her vision appeared sharp to the point of seeing in the dark, then she definitely had a wolf. A possibility existed that her wolf seemed weak, and that's why it enhanced only her vision while other things stayed blocked.
What should I do?
Damon asked his wolf. If this involved facing rogues or determining a budget for the next quarter, he would know what to do. But right at that moment, Damon felt lost. His wolf didn't respond, and Damon cursed under his breath. The old guy still ignored him because he allowed things to escalate.
Damon,
Cassie called while rubbing his forearm. He spaced out for a minute, and it made her nervous. Damon yanked his arm away.
It's Alpha, Damon. Don't forget that.
Absolutely confused, Cassie gaped at Damon as he took a big plate and placed in it the chunk of bread and the apple that Talia left behind. He looked into the fridge and grabbed some grapes and cheese and headed out of the kitchen without paying any heed to Cassie. Damon took 2 steps at the time all the way to the 3rd floor and paused in front of the door of Talia's room. The lack of her scent told him that she didn't stay there, but he still knocked before entering the room. Damon placed the plate on the coffee table and tried contacting Maya on the mind link, but she seemed unavailable.
Caden?
Damon went to the next person.
Are you with Maya?
No. She felt like eating sweets and went to grab something from the kitchen.
Damon exhaled in frustration.
I just came from the kitchen. Do you know where she is?
The response came a few seconds later.
She is standing in garden.
Damon told himself to calm down. After the incident in the kitchen, Talia probably needed some air, and that seemed good because it would give him time to figure out what to say to Talia when she returned to her room. Damon couldn't leave it be and allow Talia to think that he didn't care. He couldn't tell Talia how much she meant to him, but he could tell her that Cassie represented nobody. Minutes trickled slowly, and Damon switched between sitting on the sofa, to bed, and in between, he paced through the room. He realized that more than an hour passed. Where did Talia go? His heart ached and it suffocated him, and he couldn't stay still. So he went to the 2nd floor and started pounding the last door on the left with his fist.
Did your mind link break?
Caden asked with a frown when he opened the door, wearing only a bedsheet bunched around his waist. It seemed obvious that Damon interrupted something, but Damon didn't care.
Is Maya here?
Yes, she is.
Caden responded dryly.
What do you want, Alpha Damon?
Maya grumbled while exaggeratedly dragging the last 2 words.
Where's Talia?
Damon asked while trying to make his way into the room, but Caden didn't move, and his deep frown told Damon to give up on that idea. Caden knew about the incident in the kitchen. Maya told him that Cassie did her Luna act while holding on to Damon and accusing Talia of stealing food. Seeing that Damon stood on the verge of panicking, Caden enjoyed Damon's predicament. If Damon acted like an ass, he should pay for it. No matter the circumstances, Caden couldn't imagine the situation where Maya felt distress and he just watched. As an alpha, Damon's animalistic instincts, mate bond included, should seem much stronger than Caden's, and Caden had no idea how Damon managed to sit this one out and allow Cassie to disparage Talia. Caden narrowed his eyes at Damon.
You came at this hour, banging on the door. First, you ask about Maya, and then about Talia. Or did you start spot checking every pack member in the middle of the night?
Maya felt frustrated with how Damon allowed Cassie to bully Talia, and she didn't want to make his life any easier, but she had a strong feeling that he wouldn't give up until he got his answers.
Talia said that she needed air, so I left her in the garden. Maybe she is still there.
Damon didn't hear more than that as he dashed down.
Why did you tell him?
Caden groaned at Maya while closing the door behind him. Damon frantically sniffed the air in the garden. No hint of Frisia existed. He rubbed his face with force. This situation reminded him of the evening when he lost Talia the first time. They stood in the kitchen of the Red Moon Pack. He acted like an ass, and she left, and he couldn't track her. The next time he saw her, she had additional injuries on her body. Damon told himself not to panic. Maybe Talia went to her room while he talked to Caden and Maya. Damon dashed back to the 3rd floor and his stomach sunk when he realized that Talia was there. He went back to the kitchen, only to find it empty. He checked the living room and the dining room and the entryway, and he went through all the hallways and even into the basement with the hope of picking up Talia's scent. Nothing. Eventually, he returned to her room. A whirlwind of negative emotions crashed on Damon. Anger, dejection, guilt, worry, fear. They switched so quickly and amplified each other that he couldn't breathe. And he felt caught unprepared when a gush of loneliness overtook his senses. Did she leave? Did he lose her? If she stayed in the garden, everything would turn out fine. Didn't he tell her not to go beyond the garden? What if someone kidnapped her? What if she wandered off and someone mistook her for a rogue? She already had injuries. What if she got hurt more? He felt angry at Cassie for bullying her. He felt angry at himself for letting it happen. He felt angry at Talia for leaving. But she couldn't leave. Not yet. His territory was huge. Even if she ran, she would still be within the borders.
I want extra patrols around the border.
Damon shouted into the mind link of warriors.
Search for a woman wearing a blue t-shirt and black bottom. She is in her human form. The woman doesn't represent an enemy. However, she might feel frightened. When you spot her, don't engage and notify me immediately.
Damon could feel the commotion of his warriors stirring into action. They did this many times, whenever they had rogues attacking. With this, he had extra eyes and paws searching for Talia, and he told them that she didn't represent an enemy, so they wouldn't attack. Damon wanted to go after Talia, but he didn't know which way she went. What if he took the wrong direction? What if she came back and he didn't stay here? Damon sat on the bed and grabbed the pillow on which Talia slept. He buried his face in it and took deep breaths, inhaling the lingering citrusy sweet scent of freesia. The scent calmed him a little, but it also reminded him of the woman that went missing. And this didn't represent any woman. This represented his mate. Damon couldn't believe that this happened. He didn't want a mate. He didn't want to meet her or acknowledge her. He hoped that all these foreign feelings would disappear, and he contemplated leaving Talia at the Red Moon Pack and forgetting about her. Damon took the plunge and brought her with him, risking the exposure and endangering his pack because he couldn't leave her behind. Not like that. He decided to keep her close and safe, to feed her and buy her clothes, and give her whatever she wanted. But he messed up and now she went missing, and he stood on the verge of losing his mind. She was somewhere out there, in the cold, hungry, hurt, scared, and it represented his fault.
Damn it!
Damon cursed loudly.